Good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, what a day. Welcome to Wednesday, where it might be Wacky Wednesday. It's a lot going on in the world of public education. We have, TN ready to start it this week. We have a school budget that has been presented to the mayor that they're going to vote on. They are talking about TISA, the new education funding formula. And so, yeah, it's a lot that we can talk about today. And I just want to welcome you guys in and go and start bringing your people. If you can share it out and let people know that you're looking, share that out because we got a lot to talk about. Um, Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our fellowship alum who came on the call last night. Really important. And if I forget your name, just charge it to my head and not my heart. But I remember Miss Fuquay, Miss Lattimore, Miss Compton, Miss Hooten, Miss Holcomb, and many, many, many more. Like we appreciate you guys. This is the work that we're focused on. And without you, there would be no Nashville Propel. And so we're going to get into this check in and let me know you're here. And then we'll get started with a couple other topics. But like I said, it's a lot going on. We got budget season. And so the school board has presented its budget to the mayor, and the mayor is looking to finalize it. We have TISA, the new student funding formula that's being presented and legislated through the state. We'll hear more about that. It's TN Ready. It's a lot of T's. TN Ready happening this week. And so in a school near you, a few people started on Monday, but for now and the rest of the week, they'll be testing. And so just check in and let us know you're here. I see Sonia's coming on in. How you doing, ma'am?
Hey, how you doing, John? Hey, fam, how y'all doing out there? I hope all is well. It's all sunny outside. Hey, kid, glad to see that you're feeling better after you had your surgery, and hoping that you are recovering well.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so yeah, and it's a few things, as we think about TISA, as we think about TN Ready, as we think about the budget, we got a lot to talk about. But let us know, we put out some things earlier this week as we're getting our students ready for TN Ready about, making sure they're hydrated, making sure they're fed that cheese toast back in the day. Used to do the number, but we want to see like what are some of the things you guys do to have your students ready, mentally and physically, as they get ready to take, the annual testing to see where they have grown and what they have shown.
And also, how are they doing during this time? Like, I think it's an opportunity to get some real live feedback from parents to know, like, how are your children doing? What are they saying when they come home? Are they anxious? You know, how did the testing day go? Like, parents, we know you did your part, but we also want to know, like, what's happening during the school day? Are they anxious about this? Like, I think that'd be interesting, John, to know.
Hmm.
What are the kids saying?
Yeah, how do they? Yeah, I got once somebody reached out, a parent reached out to us and said, her the kids were still on the bus, and so if you don't get to the school at a certain time, you can't take it. And so it was a whole school that had maybe 100 kids in the cafeteria because they had to wait to the next testing thing. So I'm pretty sure that's something that's going to come out and that's going to affect overall achievement. No, they'll have a chance for a makeup day, but if it happens every day, I don't know when they'll get the chance to make it up. So that's one thing we've just heard from our organizing team is that that's an issue at one of the schools.
So Candace said that they got a mantra. I can do hard things and I'm gonna be a good human and good student today. Wow.
Mm.
Um, I don't know why they don't sit well with me. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to why does that insinuate that somebody isn't a good human?
Mm.
That
Yep.
don't rest well with me. I don't know why. I'm trying to unpack that, John.
Yeah, sometimes I look at I'm going to be a good human, and when I hear that language, it's really being just a person that cares about all, a human being, a good student, Yeah, that'll be interesting to unpack. But yeah, when I see a good human and I hear people use that language, it's really just somebody that's just open, honest, and free, and just representative of yeah, human being. No labels. That's what it was. No labels.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, that's the
That's
everyday.
our everyday mantra. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things, we'll talk about as we look at this school, last year we talk about it a lot in our fellowship. We talk about it pretty much, multiple times on Access Denied when we do it on Wednesdays. But as we get ready for budget season, and money is always a major issue, as they say. And saying when I tell people how much the budget is, it's 1.3 billion. Kind of it goes out the door of, well, that may not be the case. We ain't got enough money. But this year, Nashville is just getting expensive. And as we, when I was talking to the parents about the bus being late and their kids, they have issues. When we think about the paraprofessionals, they have issues. Even the teachers, last year we got on here and we celebrated that MNPS teachers were the highest paid, not just in the region, but the state. And this year we saw them like come back and say that was great, but it's just still not enough. Like we need more. And so as we think about like how do we help the least of them, like when we think about bus drivers, bus monitors, support staff, like they're making a big case. As I'm reading in the Tennessean, it says, you know, the let me pull this through that essentially, but the only budget adopted by the school board so far is a baseline 1.06 billion continuity of operations. That's a budget that's 4.7% higher than the last year to account for cost increase and step raises and certified and classified staff. But what the 1.6 billion proposal does not include is a variety of focused investments, or what some are calling a menu of an additional items needed that would fund to help boost morale and boost some of the services needed. But have you heard anybody talking about the budget? Have you heard anything with the bus drivers or with parents who say these are some of the things we need?
First of all, our budget identifies what our priorities are and who our priorities are.
Yeah.
And with this, I would say I can answer this very clearly as an executive director. Clearly, bus drivers and support staff are not a priority for the school district, and they should very well be
Mhm.
priority. First of all, foremost, those who have direct contact with our children and those who have our children's safety and academic success in the palm of their hand
Mhm.
should be a priority. We have children who are not making it to school on time doing achievement tests.
Yeah.
First of all, like let's talk about the current thing. And then we also have heard complaints from parents that elementary school children are also riding the bus with older children, such as high school children. Let me
Oh
tell
wow.
you, let me take off my executive director hat. Can I do that, John? As a mother, I'd be damned if you're gonna put my little child on the bus, crowded, sitting on the floor with older children who have minds that are different and well more advanced than my smaller child. Especially when you have the power, the
Mhm.
money, and the expectation to make sure that these children get to school safely.
Yeah, yeah. Taking off your ED hat and putting on your parent hat. Me too. I mean, I couldn't imagine when Lil John was 6 riding with someone who was 16, right? And I can't imagine him being 13 or 16 and being around somebody that's 6. It's just too much of a difference. And if that is happening, Yeah, like that's something we gotta work on.
It's not a if it is happening, it is happening.
Hmm.
I can give you a bus route number in which this stuff is happening where children are not being picked up. So we know
Hmm.
I don't just say stuff just to be saying it. Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna give you a bus route and give it to you. Well, I know it's happening. Route 182-P16.
Okay.
Buses not getting there on time, not picking up children and dropping off late, and children overlapping in grades. I just gave you a bus route.
Yeah, yeah, the real deal.
I'm
Yeah.
coming with receipts. I'm
Mm.
coming with receipts.
So parents just chime in because that's something that I feel strongly about, and it's clear that Sonya feels strongly about. But like, let's talk about that. Like, is it okay? Is it not okay when you think about high schoolers and elementary students being on the same bus? Like, let us know. Chime in. Is that a good thing? Is it something that we shouldn't see? Good morning, Miss Taylor. I see you chiming on in. Thank you for let us know.
But let's also talk about, first of all, like, okay, so I like to start off like at the beginning of the spectrum and
Okay.
go up. First of all, children sitting on bus stops for long periods of time,
Yeah.
waiting on a bus that may not ever come.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that first. Start there. Like let's just make it like simple in the beginning.
Yeah. And that's the norm. I tell you, I remember us being on the bus stop, and it was, no less than two or three times that it happened. And we would laugh, we would, stay and shoot ball a little longer, then we'd just walk to school. But we were about a mile and a half away. Like I couldn't imagine, because it's a bus stop right in front of my house, and like those kids are going to Donaldson Middle, and I couldn't imagine walking from here to Donaldson Middle. It ain't gonna happen. They just ain't going.
So Miss Brewer just said it's not okay. So
Right.
that's a safety issue in itself, right?
Hmm.
Especially when you have elementary school students. But let's talk about the safety issue that you have with middle school students and high school students that are unsupervised, who don't have the developed mind, right, to make good decisions. There could be bullying happening on that bus stop. There could be
Hmm.
a lot of things that are just unimaginable that could happen. And when they're on the bus stop, it is my understanding that they are officially on school time.
Yeah, officially on school time. You would be right on that.
Okay.
Yeah, like, and Miss Moffitt is chiming in. She says, for some of those kids that depend on school for breakfast, these kids are missing on the most important meal of their day.
Mhm.
And again, Sonya, we know this. I mean, I realized it as a kid before I took the test, like I needed to eat. That's why I remember that cheese toast. Like without eating a good balanced meal before I took the test, and it's high stakes and it's, a little bit stressful, I wasn't my best self. And so missing breakfast, we're already setting them back.
Wait a minute. Let's take it a little further. So
Okay.
you got people who say that our kids can't learn because they ain't got no food at home. And Miss Moppin just said, well, some of them kids depend on that, right? To get a meal. But we got a school district. We got all these people in a landscape of education say black children can't learn because they ain't got no food and all that stuff, and they in poverty. So are they contributing to that?
Yeah, I mean that's an issue. I mean, we had a family last night. We were doing our call, and I know we're gonna get back, but she talked about the Hero program, even being hard to sign up for the Hero program, which saying that's the homeless program, and so it's become an issue not only with the buses, but the Hero program used to be able to send a meal home before they got on the bus, and that program is backed up because there's so many parents who just are sleeping on couches or sleeping in rooms. And so when you think about the bus, and the bus is crowded, the bus is late, the bus maybe not even comes, like you just piling on the issues one by one. And it's hard to even think through to even be mentally ready for the test.
That's right.
Miss Taylor says some kids that's their only meal at school, but you're not making sure our children eat. Yeah, and that's just not for this week. That's something that's been going on. I want to say for most of the school year. Just as we listen to parents chiming on here, it said what the school serves now, most kids don't want to eat. I seen that square pizza in there. I tasted it. It tasted the same, but I also seen some other stuff that I guess I said because I'm an adult now, I'm not gonna dig into what they serve because yeah, it didn't look like it looked when I was in school, even high school. Ms. Moffin says at my daughter's school, the kids are saying they're still getting detention for being late. Now, is that if they're late on the bus or if they're late as car rides? Like, let us know, Ms. Moffin, because that's interesting. So, yeah, like this is an issue. And again, as we look at our budget, one of the things we brought up earlier is, they had the operational budget, but they were missing the menu of things that really support how the school system grows. And again, if the budget was 1.3 billion last year, that means it's missing close to $300 million. Yeah, that we can be putting into the things other than just being operational.
Yeah. And my son was gonna say they're still getting attention for being like even I don't know whether or not it's because the bus is
Right.
late. Uh,
Right.
and I mean that's interesting because also this is could be a truancy issue
Mm-hmm.
because so many absences, I mean so many tardies equal up to an absence if I
Mm-hmm.
recall. Um and that could very well become a truancy issue also.
Yeah. So that's one issue that we definitely want to stay on top of. Like let us know, like reach out. I know the producer's gonna put the general email that we use. And Candace, before we move on, she says we're writing students up for nonsense all the time. I mean, we consistently hear a lot of things about, the DuPonts, but definitely DuPont had. She says, my children say the food at East is undercooked. Oh, got mold on it. Oh my God. Man. Yeah, that don't sound healthy at all. Mm. And so one of the things that we want to get into, we want to talk about this budget and dig into it, but we also want to talk about student-based funding formula. Sonya, this week there's been in the news, it's the legislature is coming to an end. And they're going to be bringing, this bill out of committee and putting it on the House floor and essentially changing the way we fund education in Tennessee from the, basic education plan, which we call BT, to the Tennessee Investing in Students Act. I'm gonna have to pull that up to get the acronym, but I always want to try to break down the words. And right now, people are divided. There's some people who say, like, it may not be great, but it's better than what we have, and it funds achievement and supports, deficiencies when you think about free and reduced lunch or IEPs. And then some people say, no, we need to wait on it a little bit more. Recently, the National Public Education Fund came out in a statement of support and kind of, excited some people and rubs other people the wrong way. But Sonya, as you're paying attention to this, just where are you? And then I'll talk about just where I am. Like, do you think this is something that's going to pass and be ready for the new 2022-2023 school year?
Um, I do think that it's something that's gonna pass, but I'm not sure when. I don't want
Hmm.
to speculate on that. But I think the biggest concern is this: making sure that as a result of this increase in funding, that we have the outcomes that are needed. And I want to make sure that people understand that's got to be the North Star, right? People talk about North Star all the time. That I call it, it's got to be the bullseye. It's got to be the target. It's got to be the thing that happens as a result of more money, or money means nothing in that case. Um, and money is important, but it means nothing if we don't get the outcomes that we need. And the message is very clear on that: outcomes, outcomes, outcomes. And I know there's some elected officials, like, they'll take my statement and they'll break it up. It's because they're weak and they don't want to focus on the outcomes. And yeah, I'm saying it to their face. Because when you can't get good outcomes, and you want to focus on, part of the statement. But the expectation is that this increase in funding goes directly to the students who need it, and that it increases academic achievement in the way that it's supposed to. And that may mean that we're increasing some pay of some teachers, and that, and
Yep. Yep.
nobody is speaking out against that. Like, people should be paid for the job that they do,
Yep.
but people should be producing outcomes when they do their job.
Yeah, yeah, I'm agreeing. Like it should, it's a base, but then it's like if you work hard and you have the results, that's in any job. Like if you are crushing it in the classroom, not only should you get a livable wage, that's a base pay, but you also should get paid those incentives because it really encourages and leads you to a place of if I work hard, I'll be rewarded less than if I work my butt off.
Mhm.
I'll get the same. If I just kind of coast through the day, I'll get the same. It's no real incentive, and that's any job.
But I think the handicap, and to teachers' defense, the handicap is that you have a system failure. The system is not set up for
Mhm.
increasing academic achievement. I had Ashford
Mm.
look me in my face a couple of months ago and tell me that academic achievement and those things are not the responsibility of Dr. Battle. I mean, he told me it's not her responsibility. And that floored me. That floored me that they came. I'm like, she is the director of schools.
Hmm.
And it is ultimately her responsibility. That's just like me saying that anything that goes on in Nashville Propel is not my responsibility. No, as a leader, I accept responsibility. I accept responsibility for my team. I respect responsibility for everything that happens within our organization. And now the narrative is from Ashford. He said it. He said it to me. He said it to two other people at Hume Fall in their library. That is not Dr. Battle's responsibility. And I'm like, so now I feel like with this funding formula, and with the
Hmm.
teachers, like, their hands are tied, period. Because when you have a district as a whole that won't even listen to the educators and create opportunities, or even pivot and look to see, like, what is it that's not happening within the district to increase academic achievement. I can see how teachers may feel like they're getting a slap in the face or
Yeah.
blindsided at times.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It's a challenge, and it's just something that weighs heavily on the mind of many. Um, because we're just trying to figure out the simple things. How do we make sure kids can read on grade level? How do we make sure these new state laws don't have a major effect on yeah our student retention or our student promotion? So
Mhm.
yeah, things are gonna get real interesting.
Things are very, very interesting.
Hmm.
um, I feel like it gets worse and worse. I do feel like the only way to hold the system accountable is to make sure that parents build a movement such as ours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any other way. I'm sorry. And that may sound cocky or egotistical or whatever, but I am confident in the parents that we serve that together we can make sure that things change for children. Miss Taylor said, I got children's progress report yesterday and I had questions because my children I know that works hard had F and D. But my children I know that's not doing so well and struggling have A's and B's. Something is not right. I need an understanding. Don't just give grades. Teach my children, set them up for success, not failure. And I had this, you know what, Miss Taylor, I had this conversation the other day on our update when I talked about it being Tennessee ready.
Yeah.
Let me tell y'all something. You've got to have those. You've got to have those assessments. That Tennessee ready gonna tell you everything you need to know. It is the only receipt that you have. You can't even trust a report card coming home because a report card is based off of assignments and not necessarily litmus of understanding to the fullest degree, right? And that Tennessee ready, that attempt that test like the MAP assessment that they do, like if your child is showing minimal growth, what does that mean? So if I have a child that's under stature, that's short for their age, and they grow a little bit, that doesn't mean that my child doesn't have a vitamin D deficiency that's stunting their growth. A little growth means nothing when you look at what the real problem is. Does that make sense? Does that make
Yeah.
sense, John?
And I think, parents are struggling with this, and that's why I had to say last night when we were on our call, I was like, it's a high stakes test, but it's very rare that I just watch the student not do well on all the tests and still make it out and be able to process and do the basic things. Like you said, Sonya, that test is going to tell you where they're strong and where they're weak. And although they may not be a good test taker, I mean, what history is showing, if you never do well on the test, it's hard to step out and be a productive citizen. This guy was telling me, he was like, I got to take a step back. He was like, I managed the Target. I was at a midlife crisis. I left corporate America. And he was like, my third shift crew, they were some of the strongest people. But he was like, it had to be circumstance. Like somebody had a baby too early. A couple of them didn't graduate high school. Some of them dropped out of college or just in a bad space. But he was like, all of them were brilliant. But again, even with their brilliance, they could not make it to that next level because it's the process of how this world works. And so I just hate when people say, like, give them a break, they're not good test takers. To me, it really says that it's okay to just let them fall through the cracks.
Do you know why people are not good test takers?
Why is that?
Because they can't read.
Come on, foundation.
If you are, so I was a poor test taker, but it was because I was a struggling reader. Because most of the test is about like reading, right? Reading passages, and those types of things. And if you are not a strong reader, you're going to have the struggles on that test. And so how much more evidence do we need that children are just not being taught how to read?
There you go. Well, let me just bring something in on this, and we went over this last night. It kind of breaks your heart, and I think you may have seen it, Sonya. But let me see. And this is the cluster, right? So when we were looking at this, and the parents were like, "Oh, like what is this?" It shows you a whole cluster on how a kid can go from kindergarten, maybe even pre-K, all the way up to high school. Because we had some of the people last night who went to these schools, and they couldn't believe it. So let me know if you guys can see this, but
Yeah, pull it up a little bit.
let's see. Oh,
So here
okay.
we go with the Maplewood cluster, and it's saying that 8.6% of those students are proficient in English. That's 726 students. And how much, John, do the math on that. 8.7%. In math,
Mhm.
under 5% of the students are proficient in math. Under 5%. Meaning the reason why it has that NA right there is because there's so many children in that school from 9th to 12th that don't know how to do math. If they posted the number, you can walk in there and point out who can't do math. Out of 726 students, you can walk in there and say, you can't do math, and 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 you can't do math.
It's a hard knock life, but Sonya, that's the top, right? So when you talk about not being good test takers because they couldn't read, I wanted to start at the top,
Mhm,
but now I want to go to the bottom,
mhm.
and see what elementary looks like. Like where did it start? And we look at these are our elementary schools. You got Hattie Cotton. What does that say for English and math, Sonya?
None of the children,
What about Ida B. Wells?
none of the children are proficient.
What
None-
about Chadwell?
Wait a minute, let me say this again. Are y'all freaking listening to me? None of the children in Ida B. Wells and Hattie Cotton are proficient in English and math.
The retention is so bad at Ida B. Wells. They put an NA for that, but the suspensions are point 0.6. Like things are just not adding up. And then you go to Chadwell. Swab is performing at the highest, and then you have Tom Joy.
None of them.
So then you go to the middle school. It's one middle school now. What's that sign?
None of them. What do you expect?
So by
By
the time they
third
reach high
grade.
school,
By third grade, if they can't read, go back to the elementary. If they don't do it right here,
yeah,
they have absolutely no chance of getting it going up to Jerry
yeah,
Back.
yeah.
Miss Murray,
So
she said she's scared for our future. I'm gonna tell you something. I am scared crazy, and we are looking for parents who are scared freaking crazy with us. I gotta take this call. Hold on, John.
okay, okay. So guys, as we're looking at this, you know, if you can look at this and say, this just doesn't make me mad. We know this is criminal. We know there are parents in these communities who want better for their kids. Like, reach out and let us know because we want to do something about this. We can't look at this week in and week out and just say, hey, like it is what it is. And so if you have the time, 2 hours or 3 hours, like let me know, like send us a message. Nashville Propel Parents at Gmail or send it to me, John at NashvillePropel.org. But we can't look at this, and this is our community, right? Like this is a community that teachers love, that parents love, that the community loves. But we just saw the Matrix from when they started in elementary, the trajectory when they got to high school. And, at times we just got to say enough is enough. Miss Taylor says it hurts to see my children struggling with their assignments. I know, because we struggle. Like I can look at the homework and be like, oh man, like sheesh. It says, where are the old school teachers that took their time and made sure our children knew the curriculum? And to take up a little bit for the teachers, it went from, teachers leading their classroom how they wanted to being more of a scripted, this is what you got to do, this is how you got to do it. And it's taken, I remember all my teachers. I remember my kindergarten teacher, Miss Weaver, who taught me how to read. I remember my second grade teacher, Miss Hanson. We started working on division at the end. And I think when you talk about the old school teachers, it kind of takes the thrill and love out of it when they feel like they can't leave their own classroom. So it's just a lot of work you got to do. Rhea says it breaks my heart for a child to have to test that they can't read and comprehend questions. Like, even think about
Your sound is going out a little bit.
Okay, what about now?
Still a little funny.
Okay.
You sound like you got like a little robot in your throat. It's kind of distorted.
Okay, take over and I'm gonna work on that.
Okay. So I think that what John was trying to say is one must be able to comprehend in order to read such text that's on our state test. And you will have some people. Let me tell you guys something. Let me start with this. If you're listening to me, I want you to understand how the world has kind of formed our mindset. So we as Black people overall have been so used to everybody telling us what to do and how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've been told is send your kids to school, right? They can get an education so that they'll be successful, right? Right. What we've also been told is because we're poor and we don't have as much money that children really can't learn, right? That's like the narrative that people paint around us. And then we've been shamed as parents as not doing enough at home for our kids. And our children, that we are our children's first teacher. Don't ever let nobody say that to you no more. You are not your child's first teacher when it comes to education.
Right, because I see where they be trying to go, but no, that when you say your first teacher, like that's getting into the science of teaching. Like we don't that ain't what we trained to do.
That is not what we're trying to do. There is a science to reading. Right now in our school district, however many thousand teachers we have in our school districts, they are untrained to teach children how to read. They were not taught at our colleges and universities. Now I'm gonna back it up. Last year, 2021, even our lawmakers in the state of Tennessee took the bold action of admitting that none of the teachers in Tennessee were taught how to teach children how to read. They created a law that requires colleges and universities going forward to make sure that the teachers are proficient at teaching children how to read. Number one, they've also required school districts to have their teachers trained and get professional development in the foundations of reading, foundational skill of reading. They've also demanded that the curriculum also follows the science. So what has happened in our school district is we have a curriculum that's being instituted by teachers who do not even know how to teach the foundational skills to teach the curriculum that we have right now. As and if you have children who are in first, second, and third grade, in 2023, the very test that they're taking this week, if they don't show that they can read, they could either be retained or they have to do summer school or some after-school tutoring. That is the law there. Did y'all know that? In metro schools and in the state, that's the law. And y'all didn't even know that. So pull up that data again. I'm going to show the parents something. Pull up the data you had up there.
Okay, here we go.
Is everybody listening to me? If you're listening to me, please type in listen. So you see these schools, Tom Joy, Swab, Chadwell, Ida B. Wells, Hattie Cotton. They have NA for language. That means 200 and 99 students, however many of those in Tom Joy that are in the third grade in 2023, all those students will be held back in third grade. Ida B. Wells, none of those kids are reading on grade level. So they have 219 students pre-K to 4. However many third grade students they have in 2023, because right here it says that none of them can read. Those same students, not their fault. It's not even their fault. It's not even their parents' fault. Will be held back in third grade. Now I know that we have been saying, stop passing our kids along, but I be damned if you gonna hold my kids back because they had poor instruction. That's what I'm talking about right now.
Oh, yeah. And the thing about it, Sonya, as you were saying, is I'm thinking like tutoring, you by the time it shows that you're not on grade level for reading
It's too late.
with this, yeah, it's no time for tutoring, right? The Promising Scholars Program, it's here this year. It may be gone next year for the longest. You
It's
know,
enrichment.
there'll be years without summer school.
It's enrichment. It's not summer school. It's enrichment. There's a
Okay,
difference between summer tutoring and enrichment.
got it.
You got to understand the words. They purposely say enrichment because if they say summer school, if they say tutoring, that's a whole nother conversation. Words matter. And my question again is, what is the promise? And John, I'm gonna say this. Some of y'all are listening to me and you're saying, Miss Sonia, you are angry. I am mad as hell that our parents don't even know and that our children, that this is intentionally being done to our children, and I feel hopeless. I feel helpless. And I am angry, John. I'm sorry. I am angry that this can be done to children and people walking around with their Louis Vuitton bags and they red bottom shoes and they luxury cars. And we have generational poverty and curse on our children. I am mad. I'm a black, angry, mad ass mama. And I promise y'all, I'm gonna get up every day and I'm
Come
gonna
on now.
children and fight for y'all. This is the last thing that I do. It's that every parent in this city knows what is being done to our black precious babies. Sorry, John, but I
No.
am angry.
Yeah. Kendall, Miss Moffitt says, how can we teach when we were not properly taught ourselves? This is generations of educational neglect.
Why
And
you
that's
in the school?
right.
We're basically sending our kids to daycare
Yeah.
and to school
And a
to
bad daycare. At least John's daycare was teaching him, at 2 and 3 years old on the basics and the foundation. So when he started kindergarten, he was ready. So yeah, it's not even a good daycare that we're sending our kids to.
Miss Taylor said, so why, go back to that. She said, so why are they still allowed to teach? Let me make sure y'all understand. The teachers have somebody over them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a teacher problem. Mind you, the teachers need the development because they don't have the skills. But somebody is responsible. We have a school board, we have a director of school, we have superintendents who should be, and principals who should be making sure that the teachers are equipped. We get countless calls. I personally get calls and emails from teachers crying who heard my story nationally and in this city, who feel awful because they have taught for many years
Mm-hmm.
and they have realized they were not teaching children how to read properly. And they're sick to their stomach.
Mm.
And the reason why it keeps happening is because we've got to build a movement of parents who will hold them accountable.
Amen. Amen. So I had to hold my daughter back myself because I felt like she wasn't academically ready. And this stuff is foundational. Is the simple way I always like to put it. If I can't do addition and subtraction, it'll be no way I can do multiplication and division because the process of doing division and multiplying is rooted in adding and subtracting depending on how it is. And so yeah, like when you think about long division, if you can't do short division, you can't do long division. If you can't do division, you can't really get into algebra and geometry and trigonometry. And so
It
you
is rooted in problem solving. If you can't
Mhm.
read, you cannot do math. The reason why we're doing so bad in math, the data show really bad in math. If you can't read, you will not be able to do math.
Mhm. Mm.
And
Says my
parents are holding their kids back. And the question is it because they are a struggling reader or they did not receive the instruction that they needed? And Miss Taylor held her child back because of the child didn't get the instruction.
Yeah, Miss Sullivan says we all need to be angry, and we got to take this anger again. That's why if you know we have this show to really make sure the issues that we think are important to other parents, right? And so we talk about it to see is there a need, is there a demand, are do parents think it should be different and better for their kids? And when we find an issue, now we have to take the action, right? We have to take this what we call hot anger and transform it into cold anger to make sure that we are organized and we have a direct path to solving the issue and looking at the decisions and the policymakers who can make it happen. So we don't have to stay mad for the same reasons. We can say, hey, like we pissed and we about to do something about it.
Thank
So
you,
yeah.
Miss Taylor. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we as taxpayers paying them to neglect our kids, like people used to say in impoverished neighborhoods, like we essentially paid the police to beat us up. Like that was when it was a lot of police brutality, um, and they had to take a step back and just say, man, like nah, like we run this, we control this. Like the police are there to protect and serve, but those few bad apples ruin it for everybody else and they had to take back control of that community and let them know who was really in charge. And it was a community that was in charge.
We, the parents, in order to establish a more perfect education for our children, we're going to establish our own justice. We're going to create our own justice. And that means taking action, making sure that people that are making the decisions for our children are making the right decision
Mm-hmm.
according to our own law.
Mm-hmm. That part. And thank you, Miss Taylor. Miss Taylor says she'll stand with us. That's what it's about. We
Thank you,
can't
Miss
do this work
Marvin.
alone.
Miss Marpin, she on here, Miss Brewington. Miss Candace, she says, I've been screaming comprehension all year, and my son's foundational math is not there because he cannot comprehend the sixth grade words. And so comprehension is about vocabulary. And if he does not have enough vocabulary, but if he does not know the foundational skills to have letters to sound in order to even spell a word, which is probably the foundational problem here, he's going to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
That is not his fault. And as a matter of fact, he should have been given those skills, whether he's dyslexic, whether he is autistic, or anything. They're 99% of all children, all people can be taught how to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And Miss Jordan, just taking a step back, like as you have the comment, it's a little lengthy. What we continue to say, and I think you just got on here, it's not about the teachers and it's not about the parents. It's about the leadership. So teachers are only limited. If you are a teacher, you will know there's only so much you can do. But you also got to think about parents. It's only limited of what they can do. And so who's controlling the money? Who's controlling the direction, who's making sure it's working for a majority, if not all kids. And that's not a teacher's role or a parent's role. Like, yeah, so just catch up and you'll see that it's not Bloods and Crips. It's not teachers versus parents. Like that's the issue we got all across America. So we're not gonna fall into that trap, Erica.
No, because did nobody even say that?
Right.
And my thing is this: you mean to tell me, pull that data up again? You mean to tell me ain't none of the parents accountable in this school? In Tom Joy, NA English, NA Math. You mean to tell me ain't none of them parents helping their children? Ida B. Wells, English, Math. Ain't none of them parents helping their children? Had to be Cotton, English, Math. Ain't none of them children, no parents helping their children? Swab, 9.6, 9.7. You mean to tell me only 91% of the parents in the school, or 91% of the parents ain't helping their kids? Chadwell. Come on, y'all. We got a system failure. We got a system failure. And we need parents and educators to turn this thing around.
Mm-hmm.
We have a system failure. And we can pull up the data for every school, even the schools where y'all think that it's happening at. We got whole receipts.
Yeah.
And you can tell me it's all them parents and all them children's fault. That don't make mathematical sense. So what we're saying is it's a system problem. We have educators who stand with us because they're listening to
Yeah.
the message. They're listening to what we're saying. They're not getting defensive, and they're looking and saying, we have a problem. And we work for parents and children, and not school systems, not principals, not teachers, not the superintendent. We don't work for the president of the United States. We work for parents and we work for children, and we are glad to partner with educators who realize that the problem is bigger than you and I.
Sonya, people was getting arrested for the three strike rule. One dude stole a sandwich from the store, and unfortunately, that was his third strike. You know, this man got 25 years for stealing food, and the correctional officer probably saying, "See, that's why you shouldn't steal." The person who is a human, going back to Candace's quote, is saying, "Why is he in here for stealing food for 25 years?" And so the correctional officer shouldn't be saying, like, we're not to blame. We got to watch y'all. Like, why is he in here for stealing a sandwich? That's a human to take a step back outside of yourself and say, my job as a correctional officer to make sure people are safe and it doesn't get out of hand. But I do have to ask, when I look at the data, taking it back to the school, I do have to ask, how can a whole school, not talking about the parents, how can a whole school be NA?
Count them. 1, 2, 3, gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Gone up. And you know what? A lot of educators don't see this data. I've had a lot of them say, I didn't even know. That's another one gone up. Boom. A lot of educators, you know what? I got educators don't even know what that the district got. It was at 476 million in ESSA funds.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that we had a 1.3 billion dollar budget.
Yep.
It's about to be 1.6. I got a lot of educators who are listening to others and not looking and what's really going on, because I understand it's their job and their livelihood. And I do understand they have a hard job, right? I support you. As a matter of fact, if you are educated, you need me to come in your classroom, I bet you I can get them children straight. I've done it before. John, haven't I gone into a school and gotten the kids straight and didn't holler? Nothing. So you want me to come up there? I come up there. I help you get your class straight now so you can teach.
It's partnership.
It's
And I see
partnership.
Ms. George, she's clapping. I see you on here every now and then, I guess, Miss Hoyt, or let's just say Caitlin. But that's what it's about. It's about coming together. Like divide and conquer is something that should not be working on us. Our North Star, and I'm gonna end on this, should be making sure we eradicate
That
numbers like this.
that
One voice, one
one
sign.
sign. Boom.
That's what we're all focused on. If it's not, we got to rethink our commitment. Because
And get off my live.
come on now.
And get off my live. And my number is 615-509-1916. I work for parents and children. And get off my live. And I mean, and I said what I said.
So as we wrap up, I know some of you guys said you're looking forward to reaching out. Just know we have an idea. We have the possibility. We are forming something, and now we just need the gasoline. The gasoline of parents who know that it can be better. Gasoline of parents who want to see it through, and participate like in the movement. So we thank you guys this week. Keep up the good work. Reach out to us, Nashville Propel Parents at gmail.com. Nashville Propel Parents at gmail.com. We'll see you guys back here next Wednesday. But before that, just know this Monday at 6 o'clock. This Monday at 6 o'clock, we got our speaker series. And last time we had this lady on, man, she was strong. She brought a crew. She answered questions. She was a human, Candace. She treated parents with tough questions like they were parents who had tough questions and who wanted something, better quality for their kids. She didn't get defensive. So just know this upcoming Monday, 6 o'clock, we'll have our speaker series with none other than Miss Sonia Dobbs, who is the exceptional ed director for middle schools. Please tune in. Please share it out. You'll see it on our page, but you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about IEPs 101. What's the process? What are parents' rights? And if you have any questions about IEPs, Ms. Dobbs will be more than glad to answer those questions. We'll be live, and we'll probably have some educators to jump on there. So parents, you make sure you get on there and ask your questions, and so that we can get some answers to the issues that have been plaguing you most. Okay. Monday, April 25th, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will see y'all then. Love you.